Welcome back to another episode of UFC Casuals. I'm Bobby along with my co-host Andrew, and today we'll be getting into our takeaways from UFC 286, along with an outlook on some fighters that we had on this card. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into it. We'll get into the main event, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, the trilogy, and Leon comes out on top. He is the victor. He keeps the belt. He's 2-1 in the trilogy. What do you make of it?
As I predicted, Leon
Yes.
Edwards. It was a great fight. It really was. I thought both guys showed a good display of themselves, but Leon Edwards showed the best display of himself because in that second fight between the two men, he wasn't himself. I think that's pretty clear as day now. I mean, if you watch that second fight to this fight, Leon did not look himself in that second fight. He was very tired. I think the altitude played a major part. And I think that showed in this fight. Leon did a great job, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, his takedown defense was flawless. That was incredible. I mean, the way he got out of those takedowns, he used the cage and turned away from. It's perfect, right? Now, a thing we have to mention is the fence grabbing. It cost him a point, so it didn't go unnoticed. But I think that had a little bit of an impact. What do you think should have been the scorecard with the point deduction?
With the point deduction, I look back at that fight. I remember distinctly Leon takes 1 and 5, no doubt in our minds.
Yeah.
Those are the clear rounds. The second round, Leon, there's like that clinch exchange where he lands that big knee. You can say the most damaging strike of that round. Is that a round win? Usman did great stuff in most rounds, but Leon was landing the bigger shots. In the third round, that's where we had the cage grab, the point taken. And then you look at the rest of that round. Did Kamaru win it? Is it a 10-8 or did Leon win the rest of the round 9-9? It's tough to score. But if we're looking strictly off damage, I gave Leon Edwards 4 rounds in this fight. But it depends what you say about that third round because people could give that to Usman. And then you're looking at 3-2 with a 10-8. That's a draw.
Yeah, ultimately, I think the third round was a deciding factor. I think that was the one that was up in the air for most people. And, if you give it to Leon, he wins. If you give it to Usman, it's a draw. But I'm not mad about it. I think it was Leon was the better fighter. So I can't be mad at the decision regardless of the point deduction. I think he deserved to win. His striking was phenomenal. His accuracy was on point. I think he landed 75% of his strikes. Again, takedown defense was great. And I know Usman, he's, not mostly known for his striking, which props to him for going out of his element and trying to fight Leon's game, but Leon was definitely the better fighter on Saturday night, and I think he deserved to win that 100%.
He deserved to win, but like you said, Kamaru Usman did not disappoint at all. You talked about, hey, is he just going to come out here and try to clinch Leon and take him down like he did in that second fight and overwhelm him and wrestle him for 5 rounds? Because we saw in that second fight, that's clearly what he could have done before he got knocked out. Is what he was doing. But would he have even been able to do that in this third fight? Because Leon's takedown defense was so solid. He fought the hand control so well. Leon was never able to get deep on his leg at all, connect his hands. I mean, I think he was like 3 for 15 on takedown attempts. And every time he did take him down, Leon did a great job getting his knee, getting to the cage, getting back up, and like getting to the clinch and getting off of it. It was an amazing performance from Leon. He is the welterweight champ, deservedly.
It was incredible. Looking back on my prediction, I had Usman by decision. You had Leon by knockout, right?
I did.
Hey, you got the victor right. That's what matters, at least. That's the big one.
I will say, I did predict second round knockout, and he did land that big knee in the second round. It could have happened.
Hey, Usman, he took a couple head kicks in the 5th round, though, and he held up. So, granted, he didn't duck into him like last time, but, his chin seems to be all right, at least. We'll give him that. Yeah. But looking ahead at the welterweight division, it seems like Colby and Leon, that's already set up to go. Dana's already pretty much said that's what's happening. There's been some pushback from Leon, but it seems like that's the fight that's going to happen for the belt.
It does seem like it, but Leon has come out today. He was on Ariel Helwani's show, and he said if that contract was presented to him, he wouldn't sign it. We don't know how much money he's getting offered. The amount of money on the table could change his opinion on that. I
think it will. I think that will. That'll draw a lot of money, a lot more than a Bilal versus versus the Leon fight.
Yeah, and Dana already said they're planning Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's another fight in the future of welterweight, and that's a good fight, and that's a good test for Shavkat. And if Bilal wins that, I mean, there's no denying him anymore. I think then you absolutely have to give him his rightful title shot. He would be on a 9-fight win streak at that point. There's no denying it. But the bigger money fight right now is Colby Covington for Leon Edwards. And I know he can say he wants Masvidal. Masvidal's he's bad. He's on a losing streak. That fight should never happen.
Well, and Masvidal's still got to beat Burns if he would ever have a chance at getting a title shot again.
Right.
Which I don't see that happening personally. And speaking of Burns, I think there's not a lot of matchups that you can make for Usman right now with how many people he's beaten that division. I think the most suitable for him would be a rematch against Burns. If he beats Masvidal, I think that would make the most sense. But that's really up in the air.
Yeah, there's not a lot of pieces at welterweight really that he hasn't already beaten in his dominant title run. The only guy that stood in his way was Leon, and he's beat him twice. So it's going to take a while for Usman to be able to circle around back to that. And that's why, in my personal opinion, with the lack of people that he hasn't fought at welterweight, just move up. Just move up. I mean, if Alex Pereira retains in the middleweight title fight, Usman should be licking his lips for that fight because he would dominate. He would dominate Alex Pereira if it became a wrestling match. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't feel comfortable with that weight. I don't know what his excuse could possibly be about not wanting to move to middleweight, other than Izzy not being the champ, maybe. But if Izzy isn't champion, what's stopping him from moving up to middleweight?
At that point, it's nothing but moving up. I think that'd make a lot of sense for him, and like you said, it'd be a great matchup for him stylistically. So, yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to happen. I'm not sure if he will move up. I don't know. I still don't know the deal with his health. I think the knee situation might be a bit overblown, but I still think it's a problem. And I think, he doesn't have a ton of time left.
I saw a statistic today that champions over 35 years old are 2-20 in title fights.
Wow.
So Usman's 35.
Mm.
He's older. He's already has injury concerns. And the only way he's going to get a title shot anytime soon is, in my opinion, if he moves up to middleweight. He would get an instant title shot, really, at middleweight. He hasn't fought any of those people.
Yeah.
I think that should be the move. There's nothing left for him at welterweight. But he's his own man. He can make his own decisions, and I can disagree with him. So,
well, moving on to the fight of the night, the fight that got the fight of the night honors, we had Gaethje versus Fiziev. It was a good fight. I think Fiziev took round one. I think he looked a lot better in round one, and then Gaethje kind of wore him down over the next two. Fiziev landed some shots that kind of wobbled him, but overall, Gaethje looked a lot better. What did you make of that fight?
Yeah, earlier rounds, I thought Fiziev showed what we said he would have, right? That speed advantage, the crisper striking. But hey, Fiziev, he's never been in a fucking dogfight like he was with Justin Gaethje Saturday. I mean, eating those uppercuts from Justin Gaethje, you do not want to eat that many, and he ate some, and he was bloody, he was beaten, and he was worn down. And in that third round, Gaethje took complete control, and I think one of the judges gave him a 10-8 for that round, right? So I disagreed with that, but I thought Justin Gaethje won this fight 2-1. He overwhelmed him later in the fight. Fiziev slowed down. He was a bloody mess. And Justin Gaethje, man, a lot of people doubted us included, right? We picked against him, and he proved us wrong.
He proved us wrong, and I even said myself, I said he's kind of a brawler, but he seemed to fight very smart against Fiziev, which was not something I expected. I expected him to go in there and just throw, but he seemed to fight a lot smarter than he normally does.
Yeah, and they were both mixing up kicks to the body and legs really well in this fight, which I said was a key for Fiziev. He needed to keep that distance because you don't want to feel that Gaethje power. And he felt it a little too much, and he took a little too much damage, and that's what lost him this fight ultimately. But, it was a great fight from both men. I think people have gained respect for Fiziev. He's a new face at the top of this division now. And Gaethje, he fought way smarter this fight, and showed me something a little different. And he said he wants to take another run at this title, and I think why not? Go for it, man.
So I had Fiziev by round 3 knockout. Obviously, I was off on that. I forget what you had. What was it?
I had Fiziev by decision.
Fiziev by decision. Well, you had the method of victory, right? But we were both off on the victor, unfortunately. But looking forward to their next fights for each of these two men. I think the most likely and the one that would be the most fun is the Gaethje rematch against Poirier. I think that's what a lot of people want. I think you're on the same boat there.
Yeah, I mean, both those guys have fought for the title and lost, so they don't really have like a number one contender fight in their near future. So why not just fight each other? The
Yeah.
first fight was so great. Poirier dominated, but hey, Gaethje is always dangerous, and if he fights smart like he did in that last fight, that'd be a good fight.
For Fiziev, I think a good matchup would be against Gamrot, and I think the winner of that would get a top 5 fight. What would you have for Fiziev?
Yeah, for Rafael Fiziev, I would give him Jalen Turner, because both those guys in the past month are coming off losses against high-ranked opponents. They were close fights. They didn't get dominated by any stretch. So I think that's a good fight. They're both coming off a loss. They both need a win, and it's a top 10 matchup, and it would be a banger.
Awesome. Well, moving on to the third fight of the card, we had Maia and O'Neal. Upset victory for Jennifer Maia. That was impressive. Not what a lot of people expected. The odds were pretty close, but I think most people were leaning O'Neal. But Maia spoiled her comeback. What'd you make of that fight?
I picked Casey O'Neal because I thought there'd be a lot more wrestling in this fight, honestly, because that's what Casey O'Neal's good at, right? That's what she's been good at in the past. That's what won her fights, and she got away from it. She made this a pretty much a sparring boxing match, and she did not. That was not what she needed to do. Jennifer Maia picked her apart with the boxing, and I mean, kind of dominated this fight. She outstruck her a lot.
Yeah, she looked much better on the feet, and I was also surprised that O'Neal didn't utilize the wrestling more. I think you mentioned that a lot when we were watching it. You were just confused because she had the advantage there, but she kept it on the feet and she lost because of it. I had Maya by decision, so good prediction there. I got one, and I got the method too. So there we go.
Got one on me. I picked Casey O'Neal by decision, and she failed me dearly.
Moving on. Let's see. We have Gunnar Nelson, and you know what? I think I mixed those around. But regardless, moving on to Gunnar Nelson and Brian Barberena. Doesn't matter. We're here anyways. So first round armbar submission for Nelson. Grappling looked great. What we expected to see out of him, and especially against the opponent in Barberena, who I think lost by submission in his fight before that as well.
Yeah, he lost in his last fight to RDA, which no shame in losing to RDA by submission. But we knew coming in this fight that was a weakness for him, is this game. And Gunnar Nelson is as good as it gets in that division at submission offense. He got it pretty easily.
Yeah, that makes 7 of 8 submissions in his last 8 wins. So it's clearly a strong suit. Good win for Gunnar Nelson. And yeah, we both had Nelson by round 1 sub. So I think that was a pretty easy prediction, though. That was kind of a layup. But still, nevertheless, we got it.
Get that man a top 15 opponent. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Give him that.
Yeah.
And now moving on to the fight that opened up the card. Vettori versus Dolidze went to decision. I'm not mad about it. There was one score I was mad about, and I think a lot of people were as well. The 30-27. I want to get straight into that because that was just I don't know what to make of that. I don't know how you could possibly come to that conclusion. I thought Dolidze clearly took round 1. What about you?
I agree. Clearest round, clear as day. People said, hey, maybe Vettori was like landing more jabs, and Dolidze was like an overhand merchant, maybe. You could say, and he wasn't landing a lot of them, but he just overwhelmed him that first round with right hand. And he put on the pressure on him. And I thought he clearly won that round. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard 30-27, like you said. That was a clear round, in my opinion, for Dolidze. That was bad.
Yeah, I get the critiques of Dolidze for keep going to the overhand. He seemed to use that a lot during the fight, didn't switch it up too much. So I can justify Vettori winning. I thought round 3 was close. I thought it was kind of a toss-up. So with that, I can't be too mad at the decision. When fights are close like that, I'm not going to call it a robbery. But I was a little bit disappointed. Dolidze is my guy, so I would have liked to see him win. But nevertheless, he looked all right. I would have liked to see him use his grappling more because obviously he's had some crazy, submission attempts, and I would have liked to see him mix that in there. But still, he looked solid on the feet.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the preview, right? Where if this was a striking match, Vettori's so durable, it's going to be hard to finish him on the feet. He's had great striking matches against like Paulo Costa, right? Where he was so durable. He took endless abuse and kept going. So I don't think anybody should have been surprised that Vettori was going to sit there and be a brick wall in this fight. I thought like you said, Dolidze should have showed more of that grappling. I think it would have maybe gotten him a win here. But with that being said, both men look good. I mean, this was a clear top 5 matchup in this division caliber, right? So I don't think Dolidze loses anything, from the fans' eyes. But it is a loss on his record. He'll be back though.
Yeah, I had Dolidze by round 2 submission, and you had Dolidze by decision, right?
I did, yeah.
There we go, a little bit off, but still a close fight, so you can't be mad about that. And then for the next fights for these guys, for Vettori, I think Cannonier would be a good matchup. What do you say?
Yeah, I say Cannonier. Just makes sense. They're both like right in that top 4-3 range. Both lost to Izzy, so they won't be getting a title shot anytime soon. But I do want to say for Vettori, hey, Khamzat Chimaev is coming into this division, and who's he going to fight? I think Vettori would be a good fight for him. If you want to make that fight as his first fight, it's kind of the gatekeeper of that middleweight division. If you can beat Vettori, you can beat anybody, right? So I think that would be a good first fight if the Robert Whittaker fight falls through, right? But yeah, if Vettori Cannonier or Vettori Khamzat is what I want to see.
Okay, I like it. And then for Dolidze, I had him against Dricus du Plessis. They both fought this month, and I think a winner would get a shot at someone higher in the rankings. I think it'd be a solid matchup. I'm not ready to give du Plessis too high of a fight yet because he's coming off wins against Darren Till and I'm blanking here. And who?
Derek Brunson.
Derek Brunson. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. My fault. 2 guys who are no longer in the UFC. So you get what I'm saying. I'm not quite ready to give him a shot at someone too high up in the rankings. So I think that'd be a solid matchup to make.
Yeah, du Plessis, he's fought some, I don't want to call it Darren Till and Derek Brunson cans. They're not cans. No. They're ranked opponents, but they're older. They're semi-wash, you can say. They're not what they used to be. But with that said, I think du Plessis is on such a win streak that he probably needs to fight up now. He thinks he deserves a top 5 opponent. So for Dolidze, I wrote down, give him Sean Strickland. That's a good fight. It's a top 10 matchup. It would be a fun press conference, probably. I mean, Sean Strickland press conference is good, and that's a good fight. It's a top 10 matchup.
Well, I'd like that for Dolidze as a fan of him. If he could beat Strickland, that'd be big for him. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up what we got for 286. We'll be back soon for UFC 287, Adesanya versus Pereira 2 or 4, whatever you'd like to call it. Either way, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait for that one. Miami, gonna be awesome.
Sure. All right, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.